Yes, jangan cakap balik. I mean, I disagree with that. Cakap balik.
YB Syed Saddiq, thank you for talking to us today. You've done so many interviews over the years, but there must be one question that you wish people would ask.
Well, the question which comes to the top of my mind is, how do I deal with the stress in life? How do I overcome whatever problems and barriers which are placed in front of me, which comes at any point in time at the least expected moment? A lot of people will think it's my cats or exercising or something else, but truly and honestly, I think it's my mum. My mum is a teacher, just retired, but is facing her second battle over breast cancer. But one thing which I learned about my mum is, at many points in time in my life, she's been the main breadwinner of the family. At that point in time, our grades were not the best, despite the fact that my mum is the best teacher then, not just in the school, but in the state of Johor. So having a bunch of kids who are delinquents, not the best of record to have. But she's very persevering, she's very patient, she teaches with compassion, and really whenever I face a problem, I always think of her, how she addresses it, how much she has gotten our family from the bottom to a much better position. So yeah, if she can do it, anyone can do it.
Can I call you Syed?
Sure, Syed will do.
Ask more questions about Syed's mom. Now, take us back to the moment when you said mental health is a national issue. Why do you think most Malaysians have yet to acknowledge mental health as a health issue?
A lot of Malaysians, and when I say a lot, I mean a significant portion, still think that mental health is a made-up issue. If you go to the clinic and you are actually facing depression, anxiety, and you go, you'll never get an MC, not even an MC, but often you will be overlooked and at times ridiculed. And we have to break that taboo. And for us to do so, there must be that transparent, open, national conversation and discourse on mental health. And a lot more people must start sharing it. That's why I truly value when a lot of youth icons start speaking up about it, like Tengku Iman. And when that's shared in public, it gives a sense of familiarity that, you know, even people in these particular positions also suffer from it, how they overcome it, and hopefully will start that conversation among others.
Well, talking about mental health, you've been bullied in Parliament and you've been attacked online. You're constantly getting criticized. So this can seriously affect your mental health. How do you handle it?
It's a job which requires me to be open and susceptible to public criticism. Obviously, some slightly overboard, nothing to do with the issues.
Some people are just really mean. I mean, I understand this.
If I'm very much concerned, affected negatively, I think that's exactly what they want.
Yes.
Right? To take me down, or at the same time to ensure that I cannot focus on the actual issues, the real world issues. I mean, for those who give constructive criticism, I will take it and I'll try my best to improve myself. But for example, in Parliament, you mentioned, you know, it's like, oh, cucu, budak-budak, nothing to do.
And that's for everyone to see as well.
Exactly.
You know.
The last thing which I want is for others to see and then get even more demotivated because of what happens in Parliament. For example, if other young people see, if this is how they treat young parliamentarians, then, I mean, I don't think there's a future for me in politics. I don't want for them to see that. So that's why I think dealing with it with compassion, speaking out on these issues, getting other members of parliament, even from that particular party, to speak up against this kind of tactics. So in the end, less about me, but more about others being more comfortable to join politics for change.
Why are they so patronizing towards you, you know, when other young leaders in other countries are so celebrated?
One, I think there's this overarching Asian culture, you know, where you must be subservient to the old generation. That's why often when we're young, we are instructed not to ask a lot of questions, not to challenge authority.
Jangan cakap balik.
Yes, jangan cakap balik. I mean, I disagree with that. Cakap balik. Tapi cakap balik dengan hormat lah, itu je. But you must ask, you must question, you must criticize. If not, really, I think that pushes us back. The second part behind it is, I think in general, the older generation still thinks that, alah, ni budak-budak, they are still very young, they don't have a lot of experience, and because of that, they are suboptimal, we are in a much better position. However, I think that culture will change, one way or another, especially when there are a lot more young people, not just in government, but in the private sector, really defying odds, becoming extremely successful, showing that one's youthfulness is not a liability but an asset. We are creative thinkers, we are very innovative, we dare to defy the odds. So I think when there are a lot more young people who succeed in their own fields, that's when we change hearts and minds of people. But we must stand together as a generation, as a collective, to break whatever age walls which are placed in front of us.
Like, I'm in the arts industry, and we're talking about filmmakers.
Yes.
When they leave, there's
referring
all
to
of these opportunities.
Namawi, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
This is where, when we restrict creative expression, freedom of expression, the way in which they want to depict a social problem, but in a very unique way of attracting attention so that it can be solved, but often it's misunderstood.
Yeah.
When it comes from an institutional body, seniman, which is supposed to protect the interests of artists and Malaysian creative industry, but they are the ones who want to suppress it. We can disagree with it, we argue against it, we can criticize it.
You cannot watch the movie if you don't want to.
Exactly.
But why ban it? Right?
Exactly. And it's not just banning it, like when a police report is lodged, and to say that if he comes back, he will be a criminal, I think that is truly unthinkable.
Yeah.
And I think this just shows, again, young people have that very passionate and diverse energy. Instead of suppressing it, why do you address it, deal with it, and try to harness it in a positive way? And I think if we do that, we will be able to partially also deal with brain drain. There are obviously many other reasons why, but I think we can at least start by listening to them and taking them seriously instead of every time when they come out with a funky idea, you're wrong, that's criminal, goodbye, that's wrong.
Now we're going to talk about cancel culture. As someone who launched the Yellow Ribbon program, how should we approach someone's past behavior?
I often hear this line, a person's past behavior is indicative of their future behavior. To some extent it may be true, but again, people change. And there are many opportunities for them to change. If you lock them up with a particular stereotype or because of one mistake or a few mistakes, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The person is more likely to commit mistakes over and over again because you don't guide them to the right path. And this is why I say it's about really showing compassion and genuine care and empathy to bring the person out of that hole. Because maybe we may not be in that situation, but who knows, our children maybe, grandchildren maybe, friends, contacts maybe, and only when it hits someone close to the same, we go, actually no, if it's my friend, it's okay. If it's random stranger, I don't care. So we need to show greater empathy.
It does depend on the kind of crime, If we're talking about things that are, slightly more despicable, a different set of rules apply. I got you, just in case anybody's going to come for you with that.
Thank you very much.
Final question. You once said, I'm Malaysian first. How important is it for young Malaysians not to just hear that statement from a politician, but to acknowledge it for themselves?
Yeah. If you look at the 8 challenges of Wawasan 2020, people often forget that the first and most important challenge is to create a united Malaysia, which is the identity called Bangsa Malaysia. I think that's the bare minimum which all Malaysians should start with. No one should be called an outsider, a pendatang, and that despite the fact that there are a lot of Malaysians who feel very strongly associated to their racial identity, and that's their choice. However, what ties us all back together is that overarching national Malaysian identity. Before I entered military school, I had this very dark and regressive notion of race and religion. However, when I got into boarding school, military school, it was the most multiracial boarding school in Malaysia and also military school, which instills a great sense of camaraderie. That's when I have a lot of best friends who are non-Malays, and then it really opened up my eyes that heck, we are the same category. I mean, even his parents are not well off. He studies really damn hard because his opportunity to get a scholarship is much lower than mine. And then we build that strong sense of brotherhood. And until today, it has left a lasting impact on me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Thank you very much.
Yes.
For the Malaysian youth out there, this is our time, our moment. Really be the change which you want to see while there may be a lot of barriers ahead of us. However, I firmly believe that if we stand as a collective, if we pursue the passion and the change which we genuinely believe in, no matter how painful and tiring it can be, but a strong sense of perseverance which is embedded deep in hearts and minds of young people, can weather whatever storm is to come. So keep on pushing for the fight and the change which you believe in. Different people have different ideals, but when you keep on pushing the boundaries, you will at least leave a Malaysia which is much, much better, not just for our generation, but for generations to come.